Hey everyone, thanks for joining the It's Not Soccer, It's Football podcast. I actually remembered to say the name correctly this time. As always, joining me, we got Mason Sheffield. We got a couple of special guests this week. Unfortunately, we let a couple of Gooners in here because after we do this week one preview, we're going to do an Arsenal preview episode as well. We got Mr. Zachary Hall and Mr. Kevin. I'm probably going to butcher his last name, Paletskih. Close enough?
Close enough.
And that means he's nice and no, just to translate for everybody. Wanted to go ahead and get a little week one recap going on. Hope everyone had a nice weekend, got to see the games. Go ahead and hop right into it with the the surprise game of the week to me was Leeds and Liverpool. Anybody else have a game that kind of stood out to them before we get into the game-by-game breakdown?
Man, I think that's definitely the one that was exciting for everybody. I mean, no one was expecting Leeds to do that, and I don't think anyone else expected Liverpool to botch as much as they did. I mean, the only reason Leeds didn't actually end up pulling it off was shooting themselves in the foot a couple times.
Yeah, they even surprised us, and luckily we got to catch a couple of those goals on the podcast when we were doing last week. So the other thing a few people asked about is if we would do watch-alongs for some of the bigger games, especially since we can't meet up in person during these crazy COVID times. So that's something we definitely be interested in doing for some of the bigger games. If there's an interest from you guys to just kind of hop on, have a big watch-along, and kind of have fun watching the games. With that, we'll go ahead and roll into the results from the weekend. First game we will start on is going to be a nice 3-0 victory for the Arsenal over Fulham. Nice place to start since we have a couple of Arsenal fans with us. Nice picture of Mr. Aubameyang right there, one of my favorite players, even though he's in the wrong jersey. The lineups for this game, the big surprise, obviously, on the Fulham end, I think we touched on it a little in our last episode, was Mitrovic not playing, starting from the bench and not coming on until late. Obviously, a lot of folks expected him to be one of the guys putting in goals left and right this year, and instead he was on the bench. So it's a bit of a surprise. On the Arsenal side, wanted to get the opinion of a couple of our Arsenal fans here. Are Holding and Tierney, what are kind of their natural positions? Are they more center backs or wing backs?
I think Tierney's obviously more of a wing back, especially on that left side. He's one of my favorite players to watch because he reminds me of like a husky. So like any dog that just loves getting a job to do. I feel like Arteta tells him, hey, go out there, here's your job, and just do your job all day and run and get the ball. And then Holding, I think Holding's probably more comfortable as a center back. I'm glad to have seen him play as well as he did in that game. I think a lot of Arsenal supporters have forgotten what a great, attacking forward and what a pressing forward he was before his injury, but I still feel like he's more comfortable playing a more central role.
I mean, I would argue that the way Arteta runs things, it's so fluid. Every one of those players has to be comfortable playing anywhere on the pitch for him, which is, I think, a big reason why we're not seeing Ozil on there. He is not a defensive guy. Every one of these guys on the pitch play defense and offense, and it's a whole system. And if it doesn't fit what Arteta's doing, then they're not going to see the pitch.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's kind of why I was asking about if they were more central holding or wing defenders. It kind of seems like they have a bit. They can kind of go as more of a back four, a back three, a back five. They really have a lot of flexibility, where obviously Bellerin's going to be bombing down one side, and then Tierney and Maitland-Niles kind of have a little bit of a kind of interchange going on over there. And of course, William came in, and we'll see how he does over the course of the season. He tends to be a very hot and cold player. So, right now you got him hot. Mr. Aubameyang is always going to put in the finishes, like he did the other day. Great cross from Willian, great finish from Aubameyang. He's just one of the best strikers on the planet, does it every year. Kevin, you have any thoughts about the lineup? Anything that stood out to you?
Sure, yeah. So I think what Arsenal does is they switch formation, like when they attack to when they defend. So when they would defend, I think Maitland-Niles and Bellerin, they drop back and created almost a back five. And the Tierney and Holding kind of push more tightly with Gabriel in the center. Usually that position by Gabriel occupied David Luiz. So it was good to see Gabriel step up to the challenge and, and able to put a goal in his debut and play pretty solidly on the back and help us keep a clean sheet. So I think Arsenal is working towards this thing where we actually playing our defensive wing backs as a more like on attack, and they help support Aubameyang and William on top. If you look at the couple goals that Aubameyang scored, one against Liverpool in the Community Shield and one against Fulham, you can see during the goal that Tierney and Maitland-Niles on the left side are overlapping him. They're almost in the box by the time he takes a shot on goal. So you can see how far they push in the field to attack and how far they draw back to defend. So they're running a lot on the field to cover a lot of ground. So that's something we saw with Arteta with his new style where the whole team attacks and the whole team defends. So, and coming back to attacking piece two, where the whole team attacks, you can see both goals where Aubameyang scored. They're almost identical. They started from the back from the keeper, and they'll pass through the back, but the long ball switched the field, and then Aubameyang put the goal in.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to see that quite a few times this year. The guy just finishes, and it seems like Arteta has finally realized, what some of the other guys coaching y'all's team didn't is when you have that player like Aubameyang, you get them in positions to win you games. You let your playmakers make you plays, and it seems like Arteta, I got to give him all the credit in the world. He really realizes what his strengths and weaknesses are. He knows they may have to outscore some people. Their defense, was a bit of a question mark last year. I will say I was gutted and heartbroken as a United fan. I really wanted Gabriel at United to partner with Harry Maguire. I think y'all got a stud of a center back there. Obviously, he got you a goal in his first game. That never hurts either. And I really like the way, Arsenal are looking at this point. I don't really like it as a United fan, but it looks good for you guys. As far as kind of some of the stats from the game, obviously Arsenal had a lot more shots on target, more possession, completed more passes, more accuracy. It took an extra corner. It's just hard to win games when you're getting outplayed in every facet of the game. So not a huge surprise. Fulham are going to struggle this year, especially if Mitrovic isn't on the field putting in goals. And not a surprise to see that one end the way it did. Mason, you got anything else on this before we move to the next one?
I did. While we were mentioning those accurate passes, there was 562. Gabriel contributed 108 of those. It was a 95% pass success rate, and 367 of those passes came from within their own half. So that just shows how the heavy build is happening, starting all the way at the back and then pushing forward.
No, that's a great point. And again, to hit on that Gabriel transfer, it's not just bringing in a quality defender. It's bringing in a quality defender that can play balls forward, that can anchor your defense, start it in transition, and then get down into the box and put in headers. I mean, he's a great player. I would have loved to have seen him, wearing my badge instead of y'all's. But he's definitely one to watch throughout the season. We'll go ahead and hop into this Palace-Southampton game. Nice performance by Mr. Zaha. He started off hot. You could tell he came out, I don't know if he's trying to prove a point to get to another club or to get Palace in the top half of the table, but he looks like he's a man on a mission. The one player that really stood out to me was Mitchell, their wingback. Young wingback, really gave them a lot of width. Helped on some of the build-up play and crosses to Zaha. I think he's going to make a big difference as far as getting them some some production going down the wing and some help in the attack. On the other side, I really do like Southampton. I think Danny Ings is going to continue his goal scoring from last year. Ward-Prowse and Romeo aren't a horrible midfield pair. Bertrand and Walker-Peters are decent getting down on the wing. They just did not control the game in midfield. MacArthur and who is it? MacArthur and McCarthy, the twins. They just kind of bossed the midfield over Romeo and Ward-Prowse, and that kind of seemed to be the story of the game to me. Anybody have any other thoughts on Palace Southampton?
I don't have too much to add on it, other than the Zaha. Is he on the move or is he not? I think it's a rumor every single season, so I'm not holding my breath for anything to happen. I mean, I like Crystal Palace as a club, and for their sake, I hope he stays.
Yeah, Zaha is the top player. He was like Alexis Sanchez for Arsenal at one point in a time where he would able himself win the games for Arsenal. So Zaha is the same thing for Crystal Palace. His dribbling ability and his goal scoring, he can create goals out of nothing. And it's always, as Mason said, it's always a rumor that he's going to leave. And I think even the Roy Hodgson, the head coach for Crystal Palace, also mentions, hey, like, I'm surprised we don't have offers this time around for him. But I think the reason is he's priced pretty high, and during the pandemic, it's kind of hard for some clubs to cash out that money. So I think he's probably going to stay this time around. One more thing I was going to add is on Southampton. I'm looking forward to Danny Ings having another, great season. I think once Southampton got a new coach, he really transformed and started just scoring goals left and right. So I look forward to him, have a very contributive season, and hopefully Southampton will finish in the top half of the table.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say about Zaha is pretty much what Mason said about him being linked to a move every single year. I feel like it feels like the past 5 or 6 years, every transfer window, they've said, oh, yeah, Zaha to Arsenal. It could happen this year. It could happen. And it's at the point now where it's almost a joke when you hear it during the transfer window. I don't expect him to ever play for Arsenal at this point. I'm not sure if he'll ever play for a team that isn't Palace. So,
one of the things people don't think about is that transfer price is always inflated by Palace because they got to kick some money back to my boys United whenever they sell him. So they're pretty much asking for 25% over what he's worth because they know that they're kicking that 25% to United. Because of that, you're right. He's going to have to play. And like I said, he looks like a man on a mission. If he comes out and continues this form and is putting in goals and assists, somebody may be willing to splash out that cash. But I think right now, as long as they're having to cut a piece of it to United, he's probably going to stay put. So, we'll go over the last stats real quick and then move on from this game. Southampton actually had a few more shots on target and more possession, a lot more possession, twice as many passes, more accurate passes. Again, sometimes the difference in a game is just that special player that has a special play, and that's what you saw from Wilfried Zaha, and he got him the win. So good for him and good for them. Moving on next, game of the week, guys. This will be a fun one to talk about. It was a fun one for Mason and I to watch the first part of while we were doing our last episode. And, of course, right here, just a big slap in the face, Mohamed Salah with 3 goals. I said right at the beginning of our last episode, I should have gone with him over Mane and paid for it all game. Luckily, Van Dijk got me a little goal and salvaged some of my day for me. But, Liverpool, they struggled quite a bit compared to what we all expected. They've set those expectations so high that even anytime they just have an exciting win, people are all of a sudden saying the sky is falling. Their defense did look bad. TAA and Van Dijk both got skinned a few times, but, no preseason, COVID, things are a little different. I think they'll come around. The thing that I still question about Liverpool is their depth. What's going to happen if Salah, Mane, Robertson, TAA, Van Dijk, Alisson, any of those guys go down? Are they going to be able to maintain that top spot? And then I'll just last thing I'll say about Leeds real quick. I think Phillips is a hell of a player. He had a couple of really quality passes and free kicks I was impressed with. Bamford's a decent little goal scorer. They're a fun team, and I think they're going to be fun to watch. I'll go ahead and kick it over to Mason. I know he knows a little more about Leeds than I do. I'll see what he has to say about this one.
I was actually going to hit on Liverpool first. We did talk about their defense being disastrous. I mean, that's really the best way to put it. But I don't think all the blame should go to them. I don't know what kind of tactics are being implemented there, but a couple of those goals were Firmino or Salah putting unnecessary pressure that they weren't going to win a ball, and it immediately put them out of play, forced their center mids into positions that they couldn't do much, which gave one-on-ones or 2v1s for the fast breaks. They were open all game for it. I don't know if Leeds came in ready for that, but it was absolutely exploited. That one goal down the wing, I don't know who scored that one. Was it the first goal that they scored where he juggled it around TAA and then slashed it through Van Dijk? I mean, it was just it's like they've been playing here the whole time. That's not a championship team. I expect them to do a lot more if they're going to stay up.
No, fair enough. They, they were an exciting team. They were fun to watch, and I'm glad they're back in the league. It's always fun when you have some of the bigger clubs with some history who are back up in the top shelf, and I think they have a real chance to stay up and score some goals. There's some other teams that didn't look great this weekend that may finish below them and give them a second season in the Premier League. Zach, Kevin, any thoughts on this one?
I got to watch maybe 20 minutes of this game. Regrettably, I didn't get to watch more of it. What I did see was Leeds coming out just pressing Liverpool so hard as soon as they lost the ball. And I think for a team like Leeds, no offense to any Leeds supporters, but with the level of talent that they're working with, I think it was a good tactic. And then pressing up as high as they did and as strongly as they did, and it looked like at times they were almost playing with a back six, with some of those midfielders dropping back. So I just thought it was a pretty cool – obviously it was a great game to watch, and the parts that I did see, I'm glad I tuned in for bits of that, of course.
Yeah, I agree with what Zach, Mason, and Daniel said. Leeds, they came up from the championship just now, so they are excited to be in the Premier League, and they will try to put the games, at first in. My concern with them is the consistency. Can they keep up the whole season in the Premier League to do that? It's a different game to play in the championship than it is to play in the Premier League. I'm sure they were excited to visit Anfield and come out there strong and give their best performance. But the season is long. We figured out that, through many seasons that the depth of the team matters through Premier League. Because you have a FA Cup, you have a League Cup, and you have a Premier League to play. And for bigger clubs, of course, there's European Championships that they also play. So it will be interesting to see how they do by Christmas. I think that's when we're going to really figure out if Leeds, up for the challenge in the Premier League. So, but I got to watch the highlights. I didn't get to watch the game. I think Leeds look bright. I hope to stay this way. I'm really rooting for them. I think will be my another team that I'll be cheering for this season because of the history, how much they contributed to English soccer. And I'm happy to see them in the Premier League. So I wish them luck. As for Liverpool, I will add just one thing. They were kind of sloppy in this game. They did attack well, but their defense was sloppy. And Van Dijk kind of make a few mistakes there. And I think I see the miscommunication between him and Alisson happening. I don't know why it started, but I noticed that they don't get in sync sometimes. And like they won the previous seasons with a very solid, communications happening. So I hope that improves. I hope Liverpool stays strong, but I doubt they're going to finish top this season. I think they're going to be in top two. I think somebody else will snitch the title from them.
Quick thing on Van Dijk. I read a stat. He is now, since 2018, he has the most errors leading to goals in the Premier League. It's at 3, which is pretty remarkable when you think about the caliber of player he is and the pedestal that everyone seems to put him on.
Yeah, that's crazy. I will add one thing about him too. I remember one point he said nobody was able to dribble past him at some point for like a whole season until Nicolas Pepe from Arsenal managed to do that. And I don't know, I'm not trying to be biased here, being an Arsenal fan, but I think since then his confidence went down, and he was that gate was broken, and now people are passing through him, and he started making mistakes. So
Shameless Arsenal plug. I like it. I like it. A true gunner through and through. So we'll just kind of run through these stats. Obviously, Liverpool got tons of shots on goal. They always do. The surprise to me was that Leeds had a little more possession. It was very even on possession most of the game. Leeds had slightly more possession, slightly more passes completed, and they were both just as accurate. The difference to me, one of the differences in this game was right down here, these corners, 9-0. That's a big difference, and that says a lot about attacking intent in the final third. So I think that kind of led to the difference. And, again, great game to watch, extremely fun. And, hey, there's a picture of Van Dijk getting beat right there. So we'll roll on to the next game, West Ham, Newcastle. So Newcastle is one of the teams I said I thought might surprise some people this year. This was kind of my surprise team of the year after Mason snatched Everton out from underneath me. I think, they have some talent. They have some good players. And, I think they're going to be able to win quite a few games. If you look at them front to back, Callum Wilson has been a very good striker in the Premier League for many, many years, always gets in double-digit in goal figures if he stays healthy. Obviously, St. Maximin is a breakout star who's been, just bombing forward, nonstop. The guy that I was kind of surprised with, Jamal Lewis, their wingback, he was very impressive and had quite a good game. And then, John Joseph Shelby is nothing fancy about him, but he just does his job and does it fairly well. He's not going to make many, Premier League Player of the Season awards. He's not going to win the Golden Boot, but he'll make a challenge and he'll help control that midfield along with Hayden. So, they're a quality squad front to back. The one player I would mention for West Ham that looked great last year during the restart and continued that form was Mr. Souček. I mentioned him in our episode last week. To me, he was the best player on their team during this game. He gets in the box. He can, he plays box to box. He's good passing, good shooting, gets in the attacking third and puts defenses under pressure. I think he is one that will get a good amount of goals of assists this year in the Premier League, and will probably be looking to make a move to another club by the end of the season. But, great performance from Newcastle. They came out and did what I thought they might and looked pretty good. Anybody else got any thoughts on this
one? For me, I watched this one. West Ham seemed to they were very hot and then very cold is what it seemed like. They would really hit stride, and then it was like they got completely lost and had no idea what they were doing. They're going to have to pick up the consistency. They're flirting with demotion for me at this point this season. I had them as a preseason favorite to possibly go down. They're at least going to be towards the bottom unless they can get some consistency going. You're right, St. Maximin. I'm big on that guy. He's fun to watch. At one time, the commentator said something along the lines of, "Oh wow, he's fooled the defender and he's fooled himself. He no one knows what he's doing, not even him. But boy, he's exciting to watch."
It may not always work out, and sometimes it may not work the way he wants it to. But wow, is it fun? I mean, the guy is fast. The guy is quick.
23. So if he can just make that little step up, he's going to be scary.
He is. He's somebody I think is in that young player of the year conversation, maybe a new breakout star, and I'm looking for big things from him. Zach, Kevin, y'all got any thoughts on this one?
This isn't a game. I only got to watch one full game and then parts of two others. But I just want to say, on record now, I think Newcastle is a pretty good team, and I hope they surprise some people this year and do better than some people think. I think Newcastle is a good team this year. That's all I want to say.
Fair enough. Kevin?
Well, I will add that, I'm excited for Newcastle. I'm glad that Callum Wilson stayed in the Premier League and didn't go down in the Championship with Bournemouth. So hopefully he has a good season. As for Andy Carroll, I think this guy should just go to Championship. I don't think he's past his prime, and he hasn't been able to bang any goals in. I will add something on the West Ham. As you guys said, Souček is a pretty good player. I'm really excited. He just signed a contract with the West Ham this past summer, so hopefully he stays. But if he has an exciting season, he might move up to better things because West Ham been struggling for a couple of seasons now to try to stay away from relegation. I was excited to see Antonio, the striker. I thought they're gonna bang some goals in, but he kind of seemed to be flat this game. So hopefully he will, get back in shape and what he did in the end of the last season, where he started like I think the last 5 or 6 games he scored about 6 or 7 goals. I think he had a pretty good finish to the end of the season after the restart, but he seems to be flat this game. So hopefully that'll change. Hopefully just a hiccup.
Yeah, and I mean, I was kind of disappointed. Declan Rice didn't look very good in this game either. They're going to have to. Like I said, I do see them going down, and I think Souček and Declan Rice are going to be looking for moves along with Antonio at the end of the season because I think they're probably going down. We'll go ahead and move on to the next game. West Brom, Leicester City. Well, Jamie Vardy is still Jamie Vardy. Nice picture of him right there. By the way, purple, Leicester? Purple? Really? That's what we're doing? Purple? Okay. Anyways, just kind of threw me off. Couldn't figure out who I was watching for a little while. What can you say about Leicester? Even though they've lost the Mahrezes, the Contes, and the Chilwells, they still find a way to bring in young players and just keep on keeping on. Kasper Schmeichel's always going to be one of the best keepers on the planet. Surprise for me was the Chilwell replacement, Justin, the young wingback, had a phenomenal game. I really think he's gonna do well this year, filling in for that big hole that Chilwell left. So Yanku's always a threat getting forward on headers. And then, what can you say about Jamie Vardy that hadn't already been said a million times? The guy is lightning fast and just finds a way to score goals. There's just nothing else to it other than the guy is an out-and-out pure goal scorer. My only question is, can they sustain a Premier League season if they get a couple injuries? Will they be able to, put things together and finish in one of those top 6 spots? I think that's kind of what they're shooting for. And obviously, look, James Maddison may be their best player besides Vardy, and he wasn't even on the pitch for most of the game. So, only looking up from here. I expect, another strong season from Leicester as long as Vardy stays healthy, and they're off to a good start. Anybody else want to talk on anything?
I don't have too much to add. Jamie Vardy, dynamic as all can be. I don't think he got his first touch in the game until it was like 15, 20 minutes in, and it was a shot. He didn't dribble, he didn't pass. His first touch was a shot on goal. The guy's a goal scorer, and he is absolutely dynamic for them. In our predictions, I had them finishing 6th. So this was no surprise to see them, put the hurt on West Brom. There's not a whole lot I can say about West Brom. I'm pulling for them. I hope they do well, but this didn't instill a lot of confidence. Hopefully they can get it going this week.
Yeah, I'm afraid they're going to be going down. I really am. We'll see. Hopefully they can put some things together, but things not looking too great right here. Go ahead and move on to the next. Anybody got anything else? All right. Go ahead and move to the next one. What a fun game to watch this was. Anytime Jose is aggravated and losing, I'm loving life. So it was fun for that reason and many others. A lot of quality players on the field, a lot of quality play happening. To me, the story of this game, everybody's going to talk about Richarlison, James Rodriguez, Harry Kane, Heung-min Son. I really think this came down to the midfield. Allen with Everton was a tremendous signing. Decore as well did a phenomenal job. They just really controlled that midfield. Digne getting down on the wing is always a threat. As one of the best wingers, probably on the planet. And look, Jordan Pickford is still England's number 1 for a reason. He's a quality keeper, and he made the saves when he needed to. I think. Look, I've wanted to see James Rodriguez in the Premier League for a long time. He's about what I thought he would be. I'd have loved to have seen it 3 years earlier, but I think the guy still has a lot of quality football left ahead of him, and I think he's going to bring Everton a ton of goals and assists this season, and they're going to be a team to watch that can really make it into that top six. On the Tottenham side, look, Eric Dyer has always been a question for me, and to me, he still is one of the biggest issues on that Tottenham squad. Is he a midfielder? Is he a center back? Does he know? Does Jose know? Who knows? Matt Doherty came in and played a good game. You could tell he still hadn't really figured out his teammates and really gotten in the flow of things. He'll get better throughout the season. I think Harry Kane is just looking starved up front in a Jose offense and a Jose team. This was a frustration for me when he was coaching at United. Look, you just don't get when you have a front four, Lucas, Dele Alli, Heung-min Son, Harry Kane, you want those guys to get a lot of looks, to have a lot of quick interchange, to be moving back and forth and switching spots, and they just look static. Everybody's just kind of staying in their position, waiting on somebody else to do something. And Everton was beating them to the ball. First and second challenges, they were getting them all game. So hats off to Everton. They came out and played their ass off and deserved the win. Anybody else got some thoughts on this
one? No, I mean, it's Tottenham's doing what we thought they would do. They're sitting back quite a bit, but I'll say they did still have a lot of good chances. And as you hit on, Pickford saved them a couple times. He came out. He had some good punches and really just controlled things from the box. On the other side, James Rodriguez was creating so many chances for them. It was insane. And Ancelotti, I watched an interview with him earlier today. He was asked what he thought of adjusting to the Premier League, and he said it's not hard at all. It's the same pitch we played in Italy. So Ancelotti's confident. He's got a confident young squad. I think it's, sky's the limit for Everton this season.
Yeah, I'll just echo a little bit of what everybody else has said. I think Rodriguez might be the signing of the transfer window so far. I have a bit of a soft spot for Everton, so I was glad to see him pull it off. Being as polite as possible, Tottenham's midfield looked pretty atrocious in my opinion, and they have quite a bit of work to do. And I think Jose might find himself on the hot seat sooner rather than later, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, Jose spent a decent amount of his time in the Premier League on that hot seat. I think he's kind of getting used to it at this point. But, look, they spent a lot of money on a new stadium. I was at the last game at White Hart Lane. It was a blast being there, even though United got beat. And that new stadium that was being built is a monster, and that's going to incur a lot of debt, and they're going to need to be winning games and selling kits. And because of that, I don't know how long of a leash Jose's going to have. If he doesn't get things turned around and they're in the middle of the table, if they're in 8th, 9th, 10th again come Christmas time, Jose may not have a happy new year. Move on to some of the statistics from this game. Kevin, you got anything before we move on to the stats?
Yeah, I was gonna just give my 2 cents on this. Everton was kind of up and down through the seasons. To be honest, they when Ancelotti came over, even at the end of the last season, they didn't finish very well. But this game, they look good, and I hope it stays that way. I hope hopefully Rodriguez was the missing piece of the puzzle that they needed. We shall see how the season goes. I'm kind of sad that ex-Arsenal players such as Iwobi and Walker didn't stick around there and able to take that spot, be that crucial winger for Everton. But it's good that they found Rodriguez, and hopefully maybe they have enough depth now in the squad they can rotate the players around and able to achieve things. As for Tottenham, it's Jose Mourinho. To be honest with you, I don't think he's a good coach anymore. He had his spell at the Chelsea and Real Madrid. After that, he went to Man U, and in Man U he did terrible things. Didn't think very well. He got sacked. And then Pochettino got sacked, so Tottenham hired Mourinho, and they had a good games, but they kind of play flat football, to be honest. And I feel like Mourinho, rather than develop his players and work with what he has, he just wants to buy players and replace them and build the team that he wants to do. So we shall see how things are going. It looks like they added a couple decent players this transfer window. Transfer window is not closed, so maybe they add a couple more. But you guys are right. They built a new stadium, and it's the same boat that Arsenal was when we built Emirates. We had to sell our top players to compensate the depth, and we had to develop players. So hopefully they don't have to go through that. Hopefully they're able to balance the books much better than we did. But we shall see. We shall see how things are going for them. And as you guys said, if Tottenham is not improving, I think the Mourinho will be sacked by Christmas.
It may be the perfect storm brewing. Obviously echoing everything you said, but even more so, Harry Kane's probably not going to be too thrilled with it. And if you really want to see how much of a bad time Tottenham are about to have, you should check out their fixture list. They play like 2 or 3 times almost every week. I mean, it's crowded. Those guys are going to get tired. They better have some depth and people ready to step up because, like I said, it may just be the perfect storm brewing for them.
Yeah, I wish them. I mean, they are our biggest rival for Arsenal, but I wish them good luck. I know I want to see every single team in Premier League succeed and play attractive football because I like to watch soccer. But to be honest with Jose Mourinho, I don't know if it's going to happen. Honestly, Pochettino did so much for Tottenham to play such attractive football, but under Jose, they beat us. They managed to beat us last season in the North London Derby, and they played much better than we did. We got outbeaten by them. So I think Jose knows how to beat Arsenal, but he's not consistent enough, and he needs funds to rebuild the team, and I don't think he's going to have that.
No, fair enough. And when you're looking at the fixture, you're right, Mason. I mean, that they got a couple games they can probably win in Southampton and Newcastle, of course. Danny Ings is looking for Southampton, and I'm liking the way Newcastle look. Then they got a tough game against United, a couple of easier games. Then they start a real tough stretch. They go City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Palace, Liverpool, Leicester, Wolves.
And they do that after playing so many days in a row for that Europa.
And that's running right into that Christmas break. So they could have they could lose that City game, that Chelsea game, that Arsenal game, Liverpool, Leicester, and Wolves. If they've lost 6 of their last 7 coming into Boxing Day, see you, Jose.
They better win those easy games when it's the crowded fixture list. I mean, I'm almost saying, hey, just tank Europa. Like, if you really care about PL, you need to tank Europa.
Yeah, or just play some young guys and hope they win for sure.
Yeah,
it's going to be a tough road to hoe for them for sure. It couldn't happen to a worse guy, though. It won't bother me a bit if Jose gets sacked. I don't like calling for people to lose their jobs, but he did a lot of damage to my club, so I'm still bitter. Anybody got anything else on the Tottenham-Everton before we move on?
I was just going to hit the other side of the coin that Kevin said and reiterate that I wish Tottenham no luck whatsoever and potentially bad luck.
Fair enough. That's why we like to have some Gooners on here every so often. All righty. Next game. Sorry, Mason. We got to do it. Sheffield United.
I can talk about it. It's okay.
They had a rough start to the season. Wolves came out looking like the Wolves team of old. I mean, within 6 minutes, they were up 2-0. My boy Adama Traore right there. I know he's trying to follow my fitness plan, and he's almost as ripped as I am. He'll get there in a few seasons. Just give him time. Look, that Wolves team is stacked front to back. I think Raul Menez may be the best striker in England right now. He can score all kinds of different goals. He has pace. He can pass. He has fantastic dribbling ability. He's great in the air. His presence on the ball when he's in crowded spaces is tremendous. I just can't say enough about him. I really, really like that guy and rate him highly. I also think, as I just mentioned, Traore is going to get a ton of goals and assists this year. He's just a handful for anybody to deal with. Normally when you got a guy that's that much faster than you, you can body him up and neutralize him. Good luck All I'm gonna tell you, get back in the gym if you want to body that guy up. He really spent a lot of that game giving Stevens and O'Connell fits. They're probably still having dreams tonight of that big beast of a man running past them.
Did you know he actually oils his arms before the games?
I'll be honest with you, Mason. If my arms looked like that, I would have a professional oiler whose job it was to oil my arms for me. So I can't blame him one bit for that. The other thing I want to mention about Wolves is Podence, number 10. He looked like a very, very dangerous player. And the thing about Wolves that's going to be different than last season is they've added some depth. You come down here and look, Ruben Neves started off on the bench. Phenomenal player. Diogo Jota was one of the hottest players in England at one point over the last couple seasons. They brought in the young wingback Ruben Vinagre. They have good quality players on the bench now, so that what they fell into a lot of times last year is they just couldn't play the same 11 guys every game and stay fresh and win. This year they're going to be able to keep that midfield fresh. They have Matinho, they have Don Decker, they have Ruben Neves, they have Ponitz, they have they just have playmakers, and I think they're going to really make a run at that top 6 this year. Their coach is so fun to watch. I love a coach that enjoys his job and really gets animated. You can tell the players love him, and that speaks volumes for him. On the Sheffield side of things, look, I think we said it before this game. Ramsdale is not Dean Henderson. I wouldn't necessarily say the goals were on him. I will say it did not seem like when they were passing around and the communication and the solidity with the defense, they just didn't look as solid defensively as they did last season. Maybe it was just there hadn't been a preseason and they just weren't used to things yet. I don't know, but they did not look – last year they just looked more solid than almost anybody else in the Premier League. When United would have somebody attacking them, you're kind of nervous because you worried, somebody's about to get beat. When you watch Sheffield last season, cool as a cucumber. They just did not get beat. And this season it seems like some of the communication's a little off. Lundstrom seems like he's kind of fading in and out of games. He'll come on for 10 minutes and be the best player on the pitch and then disappear for 45. Don't know what that's all about. I did think Fleck looks good. Egan had a decent game, could have got sent off, lucky not to. I think they're going to need more out of Stevens and Baldock getting down the wings. They got a little bit of work to do to get things more solid like they were last year. Mason, I'll let you have at it, buddy.
Man, we showed up flat-footed. They scored 2 goals in 6 minutes, and our defense was just they were just standing on their back heels. The commentators even were quickly to blame Ramsdale, and neither goal was his fault. Could he maybe have jumped a half a second sooner? Sure, but they were not his fault. He had some miraculous saves back there. He did his job. He's our guy going forward, and that's the guy that Sheffield has to get behind. I'm tired of Sheffield fans who are griping that, oh, he's not Dean Henderson. He's not. Get over it. This is our guy. Lundstrom, not even sure why he was on the pitch. He doesn't want to be there. And he was absolutely atrocious. I was absolutely disgusted with the way he played all day. The first goal actually was caused by him completely missing a slide tackle that he should not have gone for that set the defense up for a 3-on-2, and they scored off of it with ease. Ollie Norwood did not have a great game. He was just missing passes. That's just an off day. Those happen. As far as up top goes, Billy Sharp and Ollie McBurney, I just don't think that's the pair that is going to get United the goals. I'm really excited to see what Ollie Burt can do. That more fits into, I guess, what Wilder is wanting in a forward, and that's that just raw speed and raw power. We did not get it out of Billy and Ollie. I will say, from the 25th minute on, we played our game. We did not struggle after that. Once we woke up, it was all us. We just had no reward to show for it. Speaking to Wolves, they played fantastically. Fleck knocked one off the post that should have easily gone in. And that guy, Seiss, am I saying that right? The guy who scored the second goal. Obviously, his goal was great. I think his clearance off the goal line was even better that we had on a corner kick. It was not quite upper 90, but it was an incredible shot, and he was back there to head it away.
Yeah, the 1 10-minute stretch I was giving Lundstrom credit for was that he set up that shot to Fleck that went off the corner. Like, he made one nice run down the side, made a couple of passes, got in the box, and then dropped it back to Fleck for that shot. I was like, why hadn't you been doing that the last 30 minutes? You know,
I don't know, man. I don't think he wants to be there, and why he started over Berga is beyond me. But you know, Wilder has his reasons. He's a weird dude, but he'll get them right. I'm confident it'll be better moving forward, and hopefully we'll get to see more of Berga, less of Lundstrom, and see what Ollie Burke can do up there as well.
I was just going to add, and I really wanted to ask Mason. This is the other game that I got to watch a good bit of. Do you think, because it looked to me like you touched on it already, that Sheffield United played their game and did it relatively well for most of the game? Do you think the talent at Wolverhampton is just too much for this particular matchup? Just what do you think went wrong other than Lundstrom not today, but in that match?
Well, I mean, our tactics are pretty simple, and they're pretty simple. That's the wrong way to put it. It's almost like they're playing two games. Their idea is to put their game is to get the ball down the side of the pitch. Once it's down the side of the pitch, then they score the goal. They're never thinking about scoring the goal until they're all the way down beside the box. They have gotten a little better, or at least this game I saw some curling kicks that just didn't curl very well. Some did. So I don't know if that's something we're going to see more of. But it clearly did not work. There was a cool step up that Egan did. You know, we have the overlapping center backs. There was one where Egan and Norwood played off each other, and Egan got an absolutely great shot off at the top of the 18. When things weren't going well, Wilder actually changed the formation. He put in David McGoldrick and used him as essentially an attacking mid, which a lot of Sheffield fans are calling for, saying that that's what we're missing. We're missing that creativity and dynamic midfield player that we had in Mark Duffy when we got promoted, and I guess we felt like we didn't need him anymore. So I don't know. Really, the problem is we're just not finishing our chances that we do get, and something's got to change, or it's not going to be good for us.
Fair enough. Enough said there. Let's go check out the stats from this one before we move on. Let's see. So, yeah, I mean, Wolves had a few more shots on target. Sheffield
pretty sure we won corners.
Say what?
I'm pretty sure we won corners. Where's that at?
Quite impressively, 12-5. Yeah, close.
And again, no rewards, not finishing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, more possession, more corners, slightly less shots, you know, completed more passes, passed more accurately. You know, look, that's a game that I will say this 4 offsides. I did notice they were finding themselves offsides a decent amount. And to me, that's kind of a sign of a front pair that doesn't really have its timing right. You know, those runs that those strikers are making, if you don't get the pass when you're expecting it, you're going to be offsides. And it seemed like that happened to them a few times where somebody'd go to make a good run and the ball just wasn't delivered when they wanted it, and they'd end up offside. So another thing that I'm sure your boy Wild will be working on this week, and they will get that cleaned up. Anybody got any final thoughts on this one before we move on to the last game?
I got one more thing to add just quickly. I didn't watch the game, honestly, so I can't really add in about the statistics, but you guys brought up the Ramsdale in this as a goalkeeper. So I play goalkeeper myself, and, you know, it's a tough position to play. And it's hard to integrate into the team because you have to learn your defenders and you have to learn your team. And the communication piece is very important. The goalkeeper is the most communicated person on the field. He sees the whole field. So, you know, in the Ramsdale case, you know, I can't really speak on the goals themselves, but if the commentators point out that, hey, there could have been a mistake, there could have been miscommunication between him and his defenders. They could have been just, he didn't call out the players, or he didn't tell the players to be in the current position. So, that can lead to goals. So he played in the Premier League for about a season for Bournemouth. He was the youngster that came through the academy, I believe. But he didn't have a lot of experience playing in Premier League. And he just got to a new team with a very short preseason. So I think we can give him some time. I think he's going to turn into a good guy, good keeper. Definitely not Dean Henderson, who played at Sheffield for 2 seasons. It was phenomenal. I think he was the best keeper in the league, to be honest, for a couple seasons. And it's good that Man United now have him. So now they have a dilemma to figure out who to start, De Gea or Henderson. So it's going to be good competition between them two and keep them on their toes. But I think we got to give Ramsdale some time, and I think he'll adjust.
Fair enough. Like I said, I don't necessarily not like Ramsdale, but I think you said it all. He's just not Dean Henderson, and that's what they're used to. All right. Last game of the week. This was one a lot of us were looking forward to because a lot of us had Chelsea winning the offseason battle and the battle of the transfers. So go ahead and get into this one and run through the lineups. Got to get a nice Premier League debut from Timo Werner. Came right on and earned a penalty. He's an explosive player. He's fast. He's good with the ball at his feet. He's just an elite striker, and I think he's going to get a lot of goals and assists in the Premier League. He's going to be fun to watch. I think N'Golo Kante is finally starting to kind of get back to the player he was a few seasons ago at Leicester. And if they can get an informed N'Golo Kante with all of those attacking players around him, I mean, look, Pulisic and Thiago Silva weren't even on the bench for this game. So, I mean, this is a good team that's only going to get better as the season goes on. They have quality signings who are going to be coming in. Reece James may be the best wing back in England right now. He looked phenomenal. He was good defensively. He was good getting forward. He was taking good shots. He was putting in crosses. Just can't say no. I was extremely impressed in Reece James. And to be honest with you, I kind of had a little chip on my shoulder against Reece James because he's keeping my boy Wan-Bissaka off the England team at the moment, and I felt like he wasn't near as good. And man, I got to tip my hat to the guy after watching him in this game. He is a phenomenal young player. He really is, and just fun to watch. You can tell he loves what he's doing. Has a smile on his face, loves getting in battles and going back and forth. Just really a fun player to watch, and gave March and Webster fits down that side the whole time. The one thing I will say for Brighton, look, Lewis Dunk is still a very good defender. He's going to get forward and put some headers on things. They were a bit unlucky. They brought in Lallana. He got hurt early. Seems like it may have been a pretty serious injury, so that's unfortunate for them. And, look, I think they're going to be lucky if they stay up. They're just going to struggle this season, and I don't think it's going to be uncommon to see them give up 3 goals. So they're just not quite there, and I think they may end up getting relegated. So, Mason, you got thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I got to catch a good bit of this game. Brighton actually looked decent, and I don't know if that was because of what Chelsea was doing. Chelsea seemed very comfortable just letting most of the squad sit back in its defensive formation and just launching Timo Werner. I will say that I know they plan on improving defense. That's been a problem for them. So maybe that's the mindset, but also lots of new players brought in. These players haven't played together. These are also guys who have been away with their national teams. So possibly out of touch, but I mean, overall, it was that they played very well and responded to everything that Brighton was able to throw at them. But Brighton definitely was no slouch this game. I'll be curious to see if they continue to play that way and play as a unit is really what they did well moving forward.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add, and we talked about this in our first episode, Mason, how long is Lampard going to put up with Kepa? Listen, this game was pretty clear they were going to win it. Brighton did have some good spells, but Chelsea were fairly comfortable. They got the early penalty, and they were in control most of the game. But listen, Brighton's not the toughest team they're going to play by a long stretch. And if Kepa's letting in easy goals against them, What's going to happen when he has actual world-class strikers taking shots at him? I just think, listen, when you spend as much money as they have the last couple of windows, I don't see how they don't get somebody else in. Even if it's just like a 20 or 30 million pound keeper who has some experience and isn't world class, they just have to get somebody in there, or they're just going to roll with, what is it, Caballero? Yeah, Willie Caballero. I don't know if he's got any good footy left in him or not, but they're a very, very solid team. They've won the offseason. They're looking strong. But if they don't get that figured out at the back with their keeper, it's not going to matter, and it's going to be a long season. They're going to have to score 3 goals every game if they have Kepa back there all year. So I think they'll probably look for another signing. If not, they're going to have a long season of Kepa letting in easy goals. Zach, Kevin, y'all got any last thoughts on this one?
I didn't get to watch any of this game. I'm glad somebody brought up Kepa because, I mean, if you have an open and honest discussion, is he potentially one of the most overrated players in the Premier League? I mean, I guess he wouldn't be overrated if people are kind of admitting it and catching on to it now, but he just isn't it for me, and never has been. So I'm just glad that y'all brought that up.
Yeah, overrated, especially when you look at his price tag, right? I mean, that's kind of how we value these players in terms of finance, because at the end of the day, these big clubs are big businesses. And look, you spend that much money on a keeper, you set the world record, and then the guy comes in and craps the bed time after time after time. I just don't know how much longer they can put up with it. The rest of that team is world class, and they need a keeper who's world class as well. So.
I was going to add real quick on Kepa too, since he's not goalkeeper. So it was a very surprising transfer whenever that happened to me. He was a backup keeper to All Black and Atletico, and Chelsea went ahead and made him the most expensive goalkeeper of all time by signing him for £75 million, I believe that was the price tag, which is unbelievably expensive. So I thought maybe they saw something in him that nobody else saw, the talent and everything. Well, this guy has, reflexes. He's a very agile. He can make some great saves, but he also makes really bad mistakes. And he's also, you can tell he's not confident in himself playing in the Premier League. It was his first season doing that. He wasn't solid. He doesn't come out on crosses very well. You can judge a keeper by how well the keeper comes out on the crosses, how confident he is or she is. So he is not confident in himself playing in the Premier League. And I think, Caballero is better keeper than he is, but Caballero is not good enough for Chelsea. So both of them are not good enough. Caballero is a good backup, and maybe Kepa will grow into a good keeper, but he might need to go on the loan spell somewhere, maybe in Spain, and play in a mid-level team there. I think even just hypothetically speaking, Arsenal will sell Martinez to Chelsea. That will be a much better keeper for them to use, in my opinion. Just throwing it out there. I know Martinez was stepped up when Leno got injured, and he is now looking for first-team play. And I know he already agreed on the personal terms with Aston Villa, and he'll be transferring there. The announcement's coming anytime soon. So, but I think if even Chelsea signed him, Martinez, from Arsenal, backup keeper from that, I think they'll be in better shape than Kepa, in my opinion. So I think before the end of a transfer window, that's one thing position they must, I guess, improve.
Yeah.
They need to buy a solid keeper.
Well, and this is an odd season, because of all the COVID stuff and the shutdown and the restart and everything else. This window is going to be open for like 3 more weeks. I think it's October 3rd or something like that. So, I mean, it's October 5th. Yeah. So, I mean, that's another 3 weeks. So there's going to be a lot of teams finding some things out and deciding they need to make moves. And I think that, one of the things Chelsea's going to see real quick is whether or not Kepa's good enough and if they have to bring somebody else in. Go ahead before we wrap up. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I think the transfer window between European, worldwide closes October 5th, but I think they can still trade within the EPL for another week or two. I think there is a separate window for that. So if they decide to snatch, a player like a keeper from another team, they can probably do that. So just thrown out there.
Yeah, yeah. No, good point. Very good point. So looking ahead to next week, obviously the big game of the week everybody's looking forward to is Chelsea Liverpool, right? The team that we were just talking about. You know, brought in a lot of signings. Have they had enough time to gel and come together? Guys like Pulisic and Thiago Silva weren't playing in that first game. Will they have enough quickly enough to be able to take down the champs? And look, Liverpool, they got some questions to answer too. I don't think anybody expected Leeds to score 3 goals on them. So, that's going to be a fun one to watch. That's going to answer a lot of questions for a lot of people. Anybody got any other thoughts on that Chelsea-Liverpool game?
No extra thoughts, but yeah, absolutely game of the week. I'm hoping I get to watch that one. Hall and I'll be at the fire station that day, so God willing, we're not busy at that time. We'll be able to tune into that one because I'm very curious if Chelsea continue that kind of sit back and let Timo do his thing, and if Timo can continue to penetrate that very porous defense that Liverpool have at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. Zach, you got anything?
Yeah, Mason just hit it on. I expect Chelsea to play relatively well. But just given the quality that Liverpool has, I expect Liverpool to take that one home. And like you said, I hope we get to watch it because that is going to be an explosive game on a number of fronts, and I'm looking forward to it big time.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one, man. That is really going to be a fun one. I'm looking forward to. You got to think that Jurgen Klopp's going to have the boys up, and Lampard is wanting to make a statement early in the season. No better way to do it than to find the biggest bully in the yard and punch him right in the mouth, right? So we'll see if Chelsea can pull it off. The other game that I think is going to be a phenomenally fun game to watch is that Wolves-Man City game. I mean, talk about 2 teams that go for it, that have quality players that will attack and attack and attack. And you're going to see a lot of spread out passing. You're going to see, a lot of back and forth. Of course, I'll say all this and it'll end up being a 0-0 draw. But, as far as a debut for guys like Kevin De Bruyne and Kun Aguero and the rest of the crew, if Kun Aguero is healthy, right? We'll see if he's able to make the start or not. Raheem Sterling, Phil Foden, is he gonna have his head right after everything that's been out in the press about him lately? Maybe football will be a refuge for him, get out of these tabloids. But I think that's going to be a phenomenal game, highly entertaining, and I'm really looking forward to watching that one. Anybody got any additional thoughts on Wolf City? All right. Last game I wanted to mention, my boys United, since they didn't get a game the first week, they're going to be having their first game against Palace. Wilfried Zaha obviously loves to come to United and prove a point every time he plays us. He doesn't think he should have been let go when he was, and he likes to remind us of that in person every time he gets a chance. So I think that'll be a fun one to watch. It's the that 11:30 NBC slot, and then I'm assuming that Arsenal West Ham game is going to be a Peacock game. Now that they have the Peacock streaming service, the way it's kind of been going is the 6:30, 9, and 11:30 games are on regular TV, and then the 2 p.m. game is on Peacock. So we'll see how that one is. And then look, I will say this. I am a fan of the way they're kind of spreading out these fixtures to where almost none of them happen at the same time. I will say with my nice, 6 TV setup, it is fun to have those multiple games going on at once, but it's a lot harder to follow and really, key in on your guys and the tactics and what's going on. So the way they have these games kind of spread out where you got the 6 o'clock, the 8 o'clock, the 10:30, then the 1 o'clock on Sunday, I think that's going to be a blast. And then these Monday games I really enjoy too, having the 2 afternoon games on Monday. We'll see if Sheffield can get a bounce back against Villa. And then the last game of the week will be that Wolves-Man City game. So should be a good fun second week of games. Before we get off real quick, we will just take a quick look at the standings for the Central Arkansas Premier League. Horrible week for your boy right here. Had a few guys fall flat on their face. Killed myself going Mane over Salah, and that was really the story of my week. Alex up there in first place, along with Rodney, looking good. So anybody who hasn't joined, feel free to hop in and join our league. We'll kind of go over where things stand, look at lineups going into each week, when we have these episodes. A couple guys I'll touch on real quick before we wrap this up that I mentioned earlier. Lewis, the wingback at Newcastle, he's an option that only is going to cost you 4.5, as well as Justin and Lamptey. They're all wingbacks. They're all going to start almost every game for their club. They get forward. They're cheap. They'll save you some money, and are good options for you there. As I mentioned, I was able to bring back my United guys, Fernandez and Martial. Of course, I'm going to go with Kevin De Bruyne. And then since Salah's on penalties this year instead of Milner, I wasn't planning on having either Mane or Salah in my lineup. Once I realized Salah is going to be their penalty taker all year, I kind of feel like that it does justify the 12 points. It was between Salah and Aubameyang. Arsenal had a little tougher schedule early in the season than Liverpool do. So I figured I would go ahead and go with Salah for the time being, and then bring in Aubameyang once Arsenal gets to those easier set of fixtures. Jimenez, we mentioned earlier, just a world-class striker. He does it every year. And then Callum Wilson, he's only going to cost you 6.5. He's a guy that's going to get over 100 points in fantasy every season. He's going to get over 10 goals every season. And at that price, he's a really good option for you. Reece James, another guy I added to my team. He's only costing £5 right now. I guarantee you his value is going to be going up. He's going to be somebody that's difficult to get later in the season because it's going to get more and more expensive as the season goes on. Yes, they have a tough matchup against Liverpool this week, but after that matchup, it really looks pretty nice for Chelsea. They have that tough game against Liverpool, and then other than the United game, they don't have another tough game till after Christmas. So, when you're looking at fantasy, really pay attention to those schedules and who has a good run stretch. You can only switch one player each week for free. So having those guys that are going to play each week is really a big plus for you. Mason, you got anything to add on the fantasy real quick for you in this one?
Nah, man, honestly, I didn't pay too much attention to it this week. I had a lot of players that didn't play. So I pretty much just kind of checked out, and I honestly need to look back at it. I've already had to make adjustments to my fantasy football and baseball squads, and soccer is next.
Yeah, I had a rough one. I had a rough one on one of my fantasy football teams as well, and I've already had to make some changes. So you are not alone, my friends. Well, thank you guys for joining on here today to recap week 1 of the Premier League. We are going to wrap this up and then turn around and do a Arsenal in-depth season preview with these couple of gooners we have on hand. So with that, we will go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks you guys for watching, and we will be right back for our Arsenal preview. It's not soccer, it's football. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Adios.